Relax, breathe, and let tonight's story bring comfort to your heart. Bellflower and Lotus, a tale of respect. This story is about the blossoming friendship between a human girl named Bellflower and a young shadow creature called Lotus, highlighting the importance of respect. In a quaint village nestled between the hills and the forest, lived a girl named Bellflower. Bellflower had a heart as pure as the spring water that flowed through the village. However, she had always been warned about the shadow creatures in the forest, who were said to be mischievous and untrustworthy. One summer evening, while gathering herbs at the edge of the forest, Bellflower heard a soft rustling. Intrigued, she approached cautiously and found a small, shadowy figure tangled in a thorny bush. It was Lotus, a young shadow creature. Instead of fear, Bellflower felt a deep sense of compassion. She gently helped Lotus free from the thorns. "Thank you," whispered Lotus, his voice like the whisper of leaves. He expected her to run away, but Bellflower smiled warmly and introduced herself. They began to meet secretly at the forest's edge, sharing stories and learning about each other's worlds. Over time, Bellflower and Lotus developed a bond of trust and mutual respect. Bellflower learned that the shadow creatures were not inherently mischievous, often misunderstood. Likewise, Lotus came to understand how humans valued kindness and honesty. One day, a terrible storm hit the village, flooding homes and fields. Bellflower bravely ventured into the forest to seek Lotus's help. Together, they rallied the shadow creatures to divert the floodwaters away from the village. The villagers, seeing the bravery and kindness of the shadow creatures, came to respect them too. And that day, humans and shadow creatures coexisted peacefully, respecting each other's rights, ways, and living in harmony. Bellflower and Lotus Light's friendship blossomed like the flowers in spring, bridging two worlds with the power of respect. Here's another story to bring you closer to sleep. Heather and the Snow Fairy in the Meadows. This story is about a girl named Heather, who explores a winter meadow and meets Gloxinia, a snow fairy who shows her the hidden magic of the meadow and its enchanting creatures. Heather was a kind and curious girl who loved to explore the meadows near her home. On one chilly winter blossoming day, she ventured further than usual and found herself in a part of the meadow she had never seen before. Large, snow-covered trees surrounded a sparkling frozen pond, and delicate snowflakes danced in the gentle breeze. As she admired the winter wonderland, Heather noticed a tiny, radiant figure gliding across the pond. It was a snow fairy named Gloxinia, her wings shimmering like crystal in the light. Gloxinia smiled warmly at Heather and invited her to stay on the ice. With a helping hand from Gloxinia, Heather felt as though she could glide effortlessly. They skated together, laughing and twirling, creating beautiful patterns on the ice. After a while, they sat on a snowy bank to catch their breath, the cool air turning their laughter into misty clouds. Gloxinia shared stories of the winter meadow and its hidden magic. She described how the meadows slept under the snow, waiting for spring to awaken them, and told Heather about the creatures that lived there, unseen by human eyes. Intrigued, Heather asked if she could meet these creatures. Gloxinia thought for a moment, then nodded and took Heather's hand. They traveled to a hidden glade where the snow glittered like diamonds. There, tiny winter animals, enchanted by Gloxinia, appeared. White rabbits with fur like silk, birds with feathers shimmering in every hue of blue, and foxes with tails that glowed faintly in the dusk. Heather gasped in delight and gently interacted with the creatures, her heart filled with joy and wonder. As the sun began to set, casting a soft pink glow over the snowy meadow, Gloxinia explained that it was time for Heather to go back home. Heather protested, not wanting to leave the magical place and her new fairy friend. Gloxinia hugged Heather and whispered that as long as she believed in the magic of the meadows, they would meet again. With a promise to return, Heather bid farewell and found herself back near her home. That night, Heather fell asleep with a smile, dreaming of the snowy meadows and her enchanting new friend. Every winter after that, Heather would return to the meadow, hoping to see Gloxinia and the magical creatures once more. Let's continue with a peaceful, gentle tale. The Garden of Primrose and Lotus. This story is about a kind-hearted girl named Primrose and a tiny nymph named Lotus, who teach each other the power of antipathy and ultimately form an unbreakable bond. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village, there lived a kind-hearted girl named Primrose. She spent her days tending to a beautiful garden that overflowed with vibrant flowers. One day, while watering her daisies, she stumbled upon a tiny nymph with a dull, muzzled tail. She named him Lotus. Lotus looked up at Primrose with curious eyes, and she could tell he was lost. Primrose gently scooped him up and brought him into her home. She cracked a small, cozy terrarium filled with soft moss and sparkling pebbles, hoping Lotus would feel comfortable and safe. Primrose talked to Lotus every day, sharing stories about her childhood and the joyous memories she cherished. Lotus would listen, blinking his tiny eyes, seemingly understanding her every word. One morning, an unexpected storm swept through the village. The wind howled, and rain lashed against the windows. Primrose worried about her garden. As soon as the storm passed, she rushed outside to see the damage. Her once blooming flowers were now in disarray, petals scattered everywhere. Tears welled in her eyes. Noticing her distress, Lotus climbed out of his terrarium, clambering onto her shoulder. Primrose felt the wave of warmth as he nuzzled against her cheek. It was as if Lotus was trying to tell her that everything would be alright. Inspired by Lotus's silent display of anti-lively, Primrose decided to rebuild her garden. Day by day, she meticulously replanted the flowers, pruned the damaged leaves and spoke words of encouragement to her garden, believing that life could bloom again. Lotus always stayed close by, acting like a tiny guardian. His presence made Primrose's heart light and gave her the strength to keep going. Over time, the garden began to flourish once more. Blossoms of every color resumed their vibrant dance in the sunlight. Primrose felt immense gratitude each time she looked at her blooming garden, but she never forgot the feeling of despair she had on that stormy day. It was Lotus's antipathy that had helped her through the ordeal. Primrose and Lotus became inseparable. They spent their days in the garden, enjoying the simple serenity of nature and each other's company. Primrose made sure to teach Lotus what she knew about the plants and the seasons, and Lotus's eyes would gleam with understanding. The bond between them deepened, founding on compassion and the ability to listen and understand one another's feelings. Years passed, and Primrose grew old. One day, she sat in her garden, watching the sunset with Lotus by her side. She leaned down, whispering her gratitude for his companionship. Lotus seemed to understand, as always, crawling up closer to her. In the twilight of that serene evening, Primrose felt a deep sense of peace. She had learned that amortizing was a powerful force, one that could heal hearts and grow gardens. And with Lotus, she had found a friend who had shown her the true meaning of caring for another being. The garden remained vibrant and beautiful, a testament to their enduring friendship and the entity that had nurtured it. Let's wander into the next comforting tale. The Journey of Vinka and Yuri. This story is about Vinka, a woman who finds companionship and joy in her bond with her cat Yuri, illustrating the beauty of togetherness through their shared experiences. Vinka had always felt a deep connection to the world around her. Despite living in a bustling city, she found solace in her small garden, where she tended to vibrant plants and flowers every morning. One day, as she was watering her roses, she heard a faint mewing from behind the garden fence. Curious, she walked over and found a small, scruffy black cat with emerald green eyes. This was Yuri. From that moment, Vinka and Yuri became inseparable. They shared a bond that grew stronger with each passing day. Polfa would read stories to Yuri every evening, and Yuri would purr contentedly by her side, listening intently as if he understood every word. They took long walks together through the nearby park, where Vinka would tell Yuri about her dreams and aspirations. Yuri, in his own way, seemed to offer encouragement with his soft purring and gentle head bumps. As seasons changed, their adventures evolved. In autumn, they would gather colorful leaves to create. In winter, they cozied up by the fireplace, sharing warmth. During spring, they planted new seeds in the garden, and in summer, they chased butterflies under the clear blue sky. One particularly magical evening, as Vinka and Yuri sat on a small hill overlooking the sea, they watched the stars twinkle above. Vinka whispered her wishes to Yuri, who gazed up at her with understanding eyes. In that moment, Vinka realized that life was more beautiful because of the companionship they share. As years passed, Vinka and Yuri grew older, but their bond never wavered. Yuri's fur became grayer, and Vinka's hair turned silver, yet they remained by each other's side. They continued to explore, learn, and grow together, embracing the beauty of each day with gratitude. Their story was one of love, companionship, and the simple joys of sharing life with someone special. Each night, as Vinka drifted off to sleep with Yuri curled up beside her, she felt a deep sense of contentment and peace. For she knew that no matter what happened, they would always have each other. Let this story stay with you. Sweet dreams.